we're doing this at the wrong time. If you vote in this school district in July with the other suburbs, you will be sued, and then you'll have to defend those lawsuits. It's my guess that you spent around $60,000 last year defending a lawsuit, and you lost it. You didn't get it up with the school district. So why you would go into this doing it again, full well knowing that you've got, what, $40,000 for a special election, another $60,000 minimum for lawsuits, and you may not end up with a school district. You need to let these other suburbs go ahead and do those lawsuits. Let them pay for those lawsuits. We don't need to get into these lawsuits at this point. If they win their lawsuits and the state sets the rules for having the school buildings and stuff that we've got to have to be able to run a school, then you can go back in. We can do this vote next year or the year after, depending on how long these lawsuits take. But it is ridiculous to expend this kind of money now, not knowing whether you're going to be able to have a school district or not. You might as well wait for those other suburbs to run their votes, be sued, settle their lawsuits, and find out whether it works for us or not. You know that the county is going to be running your schools for another year. That's a given. And so you might as well be patient, I guess is a good word, and wait to see what happens instead of stepping into this. I really, I know that you've got the sales tax, sales tax that you want to try to spend on this, but if you'll wait a year, that sales tax will be even more, and you can make some better judgments about this at that time. The other thing was in the paper the other day, Shelby County has set aside about $10 million for improvements to the high school here. If you vote to have a local school, they will not spend that $10 million in this city.
That's not correct.
And we don't have that $10 million to spend.
That's not right.
So you really need to think about this and hold off and wait and see what happens. Thank you.
Just for clarification, I want to actually speak to Ms. Bryant's point. All this is allowing is the citizens of Millington to express their opinion just as you have. So it authorizes the vote for the citizens to do that, and only once we've heard the voice of the citizens will we move forward with the school district, or if they choose not to, we won't. So I mean, I want to make sure everybody understands this is just the opportunity for every citizen to have a voice in what happens with the schools here in our community.
But at this time, you still have to spend several $1,000s to have that vote.
Well, that's one reason we're doing it
Yeah, that's
together with the other municipalities, is we're going to share the cost. We're all going to do it on the same date.
So it doesn't cost.
It won't be
you are correct. That is an expense.
Yes.
And the part that I don't know that we talked about this before. If the citizens do vote to have a school system, a municipal school system, we'll have to move forward with that. We're bound by that vote.
I'm Louise Kennan, and I understand what she's saying, but I think she's erroneous in what the AIG fund, they cannot use that money for anything but repairs, and that's been in the paper a number of times. That money was set aside 4 or 5 years ago, and the city has tried to get it out, correct me if I'm wrong, and it can't be used for anything but repair. So that's a moot question. Mayor Luttrell, I understand, has the claw hammer on that one, but that's not even in the mix.
I'm Elizabeth Gallup, 4892 Quay Hill Drive in Millington, and I understand the wisdom of trying to save money, and I would love to save money, but I also think that if we let this opportunity pass us by, then we may not get the momentum again to form our own schools. I think we need to go ahead with the vote. If the people approve it, we need to go ahead for the schools because it's the best thing for our children, number one, and for our community, number two. But, you know, the kids are what's important, and we may have to spend some more money, but I think they're well worth it.
Thank you, Scout. I'm not sure what lawsuits are pending if we continue forward. Do you want to speak on that?
Mayor and Board, we're already in the lawsuit.
The one that's continued.
And I don't think the judge has any inclination to let somebody else try it. I think he's going to continue to shepherd this lawsuit. And of course, there are some meetings this Thursday between the lawyers to try to see if some settlement can be effected. I'll be a part of that, representing you all.
So you're talking about the discrimination lawsuit?
We're talking about the equal protection lawsuit, and we'll be talking about a lot of different things. You know, the floor is wide open at that meeting to discuss anything. As far as the equal protection lawsuit, I think Millington, of all the cities in Shelby County, is probably in a stronger position than any other city.
I don't, we shouldn't even be included in that lawsuit at all.
Maybe not, and
We should be able to get out of that.
but I think Millington's in a pretty good position. Your sales tax revenues are substantial. It looks to me like if things continue the way they're going, you'll be able to meet your required contribution to the school system out of the sales tax and more too. So that's...
Mr. Perkins, the meeting you're talking about on Thursday, I got invitation to the facilities meeting. Does that say that's a different?
No, this is for the lawyers, this is strictly the lawyers. So, if we vote for this tonight, one thing we will have to determine is when, what's the election we've already discussed as being July the 16th. We also would need to decide tonight when you want to have the early voting day. I'm recommending one day as opposed to a number of days because of the cost. It's about $1,500 to $2,000 a day for each early voting day. If you want to have it on a Saturday, you're pretty much looking at June the 29th because of the 4th of July weekend. You could also do a Tuesday before the election on the 16th, which would be a week before. Those are suggestions I throw out to you. Those would, and I'm recommending the one day. I think most of the other communities are going to one day of early voting. That would give you a vote on the early vote day and also a vote on the 16th. You're required by law to have the early vote at least 5 days prior to the special election date. So again, the Tuesday before would be 5 days before. If you want to do a Saturday, if you did it the first week in July, you'd be on the 6th, I believe, which is the 4th of July weekend, which is probably not a good voting day. So that's...
You're talking about having early voting just for one day, or you start it that day and continue it to the election day?
I would say probably Tuesday before would be a good day.
Just one day?
Yeah, you do one day of early voting and one day of regular voting.
So are you saying that we can choose our early voting day that could be different than the other municipalities'
Yes.
early voting day?
Yes.
I thought we had agreed with it.
Whatever would be
Same
peculiar
day.
to Millington.
Most of the emails I've gotten so far is that you're talking about trying to do it on a Saturday, and get everybody to do it on a
I
Saturday.
think it makes more sense to do it at
All
the
at
same
the
time.
same day.
If we do it at a different time than they do it, it'd be confusing.
The other municipalities will just have one day of early voting?
I think they are primarily because of the cost.
Yeah, I understand.
And that issue would be on the ballot in all of the early voting spots, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So it makes sense